Okay, so welcome everyone to your evening meditation, and we're going to be doing a discussion session today. So just giving yourself the gift of the next half an hour, 25 minutes time out to do this meditation if you're listening to the recording. And if you're on YouTube or in Zoom, then we'll continue on straight into a discussion session. I thought we'd discuss what is a miracle today. So just giving yourself some time and space, going somewhere where you're not going to be disturbed for the next 25 minutes or so, putting your phone on mute or silent, sitting comfortably in a meditation posture. So you could sit cross-legged, lotus or half lotus, also options if you're quite an advanced meditator. Sit up in bed with your feet out in front of you. The main thing is keep your back straight. So just keeping your back straight. Cup your hands in your lap. If you're sitting on a chair, feet shoulder width apart. Close your eyes and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So you're breathing into the belly button. So just inflating the belly button like a balloon. Squeeze the sphincter muscle. That's the muscle we use to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. So what that does is create an energy lock and simultaneously pumps this life energy, kundalini energy as it's called in yoga, up the spine. And then simultaneously you draw it up with your breath into your heart center. Put one hand on your heart. Just connect with your heart space. Feel that loving presence. And then draw the energy up into your upper chest, your upper back, and all the way up through your neck, up the back of your head into your crown. Another sip of air in at the top. So it's a maximal inhale breath. Your lungs are completely full. Just feel this only warm thread of energy. This life energy rising up the spine. Pause at the top of the inhale. And you're just going to check in. So just scanning your mind, your emotions, noticing anything that's not entirely peaceful or loving. Might just be a scrap of irritation, a little bit of anger, frustration, fear, anxiety, jealousy, rage, guilt, attack thoughts. Just notice all of it and notice how it feels mentally and emotionally. So go into your body and then physically. What physical sensations show up? Maybe there's a knot in your stomach, a block in your chest, clenched jaw, sweaty palms, dry mouth, clenching your fists. The extreme nausea and panic attacks can come just from your thoughts and emotions. So wherever you are on that scale, just notice it and now choose. This is really what forgiveness means, just to choose to let go of the negative thoughts and emotions. So exhale. As you do that, just say, I offer only miracles today, for I would have them be returned to me. That's today's workbook lesson. Of course, in Miracles Workbook, lesson 345. So blow it all out. Imagine it's just leaving you like a black smoke out of your mouth. It's leaving your energy system. And pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And you just rest here for a few moments in the peace and stillness. Nothing else to do, nowhere else to go for the next 20 minutes. Just breathe, relax, be still. So breathe in again through the nose. Imagine you're not just breathing air in now, but you're breathing light. So blowing your stomach up through the belly button like a light full balloon. Squeeze the sphincter muscle, draw this light up the spine like a column of gold on a white light. Flowing through your middle back into your heart center. Put your hand on your heart if it slipped down. Just coming totally into the present moment by focusing all your attention on the breath and the subtle sensations of the breath. And then draw this really light energy up the spine all the way into the crown of your head. Take another sip of air at the top. Just pause at the top of the inhale, smile. And just connect in with the peace and the stillness that are there for no other reason than that you're aware, you're alive now. And in this awareness, there's some kind of peace, a deeper peace, maybe love, maybe you can even experience joy, smile. Now exhale, just sighing it all out. And the airflow out of your nostrils, the chest and the stomach suck back in. Energy subsides back down like a wave, subsiding back into the ocean. And coming to rest at the bottom of the spine, in your lower stomach and your groin. So completely empty, just pause here for a few moments. Really pay attention to the stillness and the peace that arises in these gaps. Smile. And then breathe in again. So just watching your breath, stepping back, watching the subtle sensations of the breath, noticing the stomach rise, the chest rise, subtle flow of air into the nostrils, this life energy rising up the spine, feeling like a warm, tingling thread of energy going all the way up the spine into the crown of your head. Just pause at the top of the inhale, smile, and then you exhale. Process reverses, air flows out of your nostrils, chest and stomach suck back in. Energy subsides back down the front channel of your body, coming to rest in your lower stomach and groin. You sigh it all out. It's like a sighing sound in the back of your throat. So you fogging sunglasses which keep your mouth closed, the air flows out of your nostrils. And pause, rest again, and repeat the cycles. Just stepping back, watching your breath, keeping your mind nice and still, calm, empty, open, but aware. And into this awareness, just going to drop this preliminary section and discuss this later. Let's meditate on it first and just try to intellectually understand. We can talk about this later and discuss it in the discussion session. Just try and feel into the words, because the words are just pointers. They're pointing to a deeper state in your own mind, state of total love, peace, and joy. And ultimately, that's the only point, is to actually experience those feelings for yourself. That's the real miracle. It's when you experience those feelings, especially if you're tempted to experience their opposites: fear, anger, attack thoughts, hatred, and so on. So just allow these words to permeate in to your heart. Keep your hand on your heart, stay present in your heart center, keep watching your breath. Imagine you breathing air and this loving presence and this light into your heart. And that should keep you out of your mind. You want to just still the monkey mind chatter. Stay very calm, clear, empty, open, but aware. Allow these words just to sink into this deeper part of your mind, your subconscious. You actually have a great intelligence in your heart. So it's a deeper part of your mind. So in truth, it's all mind, but not mind in the sense of the conscious rational mind. It's a much deeper feeling mind, it's an experiential mind that really just wants to know love and peace and joy. So keep breathing, connecting with your heart center, staying in your heart space, and listen with your heart rather than your mind. And I share these profound words from Jesus, our master teacher, in answer to the question, what is a miracle? So a miracle is a correction. It does not create nor really change at all. It merely looks on devastation and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. It undoes error, but does not attempt to go beyond perception, nor exceed the function of forgiveness. Thus it stays within time's limits. Yet it paves the way for the return of timelessness and love's awakening, for fear must slip away under the gentle remedy it brings. So just pause, watch your breath. Imagine fear just slipping away. Any little scraps of fear that you notice. Just exhale and breathe in out. And as fear slips away, love starts to arise. Maybe feel a deep feeling of peace, joy, happiness in your heart. Just keep watching the breath, breathing into your heart center, breathing this loving presence to your heart center. Pause. Intensify the love and the light, and then exhale to sigh it all out. And you're sinking deeper and deeper with each breath into this timelessness, eternity, place where love will awaken in your heart and your mind. Which is what a miracle brings about. So a miracle contains the gift of grace, for it is given and received as one. And thus it illustrates the law of truth. The world does not obey, because it fails entirely to understand its ways. A miracle inverts perception, which was upside down before. And thus it ends the strange distortions that were manifest. Now is perception open to the truth. Now is forgiveness seen as justified. So keep watching your breath, just sinking into this place of grace, state of grace that this passage talks about. Miracle inverts your normal perception. It's the opposite of the world's thinking. So do not expect that you can reconcile miracles with thinking of the world. They are opposites. Truth and illusion are opposites. You cannot reconcile them. You can just choose one or the other in any situation. Just keep watching the breath, staying very nice and still, calm, empty, open, but aware. Sinking deeper and deeper into this state of grace, place of truth, of light, of love, every breath. Into your home. And Jesus says forgiveness is the home of miracles. The eyes of Christ deliver them to all they look upon in mercy and in love. And you can substitute the word Christ for the word your higher self or your deeper self, true self. Use whatever term is most helpful. It's the part of your mind that can look upon everything in mercy and love, not get upset and fearful and angry and indulge in all the negativity the ego tempts you to. So perception stands corrected in his sight, in the eyes of Christ. And what is meant to curse has come to bless. Each lily of forgiveness offers all the world the silent miracle of love. And each is laid before the Word of God, the Word of this infinite, eternal, loving presence, and we can call God or source if you prefer, or creator, just life source, life energy. So each is laid before the word of God or love, before the universal altar to creator and creation, in the light of perfect purity and endless joy. So as you breathe in now, just breathe in this perfect purity, your innocence, and the joy that comes with it, to know that you're perfectly holy, sinless, complete, innocent. Nothing you've ever done, nothing anyone else has ever done can actually affect this perfect purity and the endless joy. That are yours. So breathe them in. Imagine breathing this beautiful golden or white light into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body. It's flowing into your stomach, blowing it up like a light-filled balloon, to your heart center, your upper chest, your head. Fill your lungs completely, filling every part of your body and every corner of your mind. This beautiful light presence, a light of perfect purity, as Jesus puts it, an endless joy. Feel that joy in your heart. Put your one hand over your heart center, but slip down. Say the miracle is taken first on faith, because to ask for it implies the mind has been made ready to conceive of what it cannot see and does not understand. Yet faith will bring its witnesses to show that what it rested on is really there. And thus the miracle will justify your faith in it and show it rested on a world more real than what you saw before. A world redeemed from what you thought was there. And miracles fall like drops of healing rain from heaven on a dry and dusty world. Starved and thirsty creatures come to die. Now they have water. Now the world is green. And everywhere the signs of life spring up to show that what is born can never die. For what has life has immortality. And so just exhale. Surrender into the miracle. Miracle is just a shift, decision, change of mind. Change your mind from fear to love. Change your mind from the ego's thought system to the Holy Spirit's thought system. When you do that, the signs of life are everywhere. To show that actually there is no death. If you have life, you have a form of life here, then you are immortal. A body can die, but you are not a body. It was never you. Your mind cannot die. It is invincible, immortal, invulnerable, beyond all illusions of time and space. So let's move on to today's lesson, which is also about miracles. So breathing in, nice deep breath in, breathing in the light, beautiful golden or white light flowing into your stomach, like a light-filled balloon, blowing it up into maximum expansion. Squeeze the sphincter muscle, draw this only column of golden or white light up the spine to your heart center, breathing it into your heart center. Feel this life energy rising up like a column of white light. Up your back, flowing all the way up into the crown of your head. This pause at the top of the inhale. Smile. Just drinking in this light, this life essence, the love. Say, I offer only miracles today. Why would heaven be returned to me? Miracle is just the decision to let it go, allow love to flow back into your awareness. And I'll say this prayer, addressing your source, creator, father, higher self. Call it whatever you want. Jesus called it Father. So Father, a miracle reflects your gifts to me, your son, your extension. And everyone I give returns to me, reminding me the law of love is universal. So exhale. And just have a sense of extending these miracles out. Even here, as Jesus said, it takes a form which can be recognized and seen to work. So by extending love outwards, you invite miracles to come and really help you heal sickness and suffering and problems in your life and the lives of others. Because the miracles that you give are given back in just the form you need to help you with the problems you perceive. Say, Father, in heaven it is different, for there are no needs. But here on earth, the miracle is closer, so breathing in to your gifts, breathing in these gifts, which are really just inner gifts, nothing external. God doesn't believe in form. Form is created by God, it's created by the ego. So the gifts Jesus is talking about are these inner gifts of love, peace, joy, happiness, contentment, fulfillment, everything we really want. Inhale those gifts, drawing them into your heart, into your mind, to every pore of your body, every corner of your mind, and say, here on earth, the miracle is closer to your gifts than any other gift that I can give. And let me give this gift alone today, which, born of true forgiveness, lights the way that I must travel to remember you. So exhale. And just extending it out. Extending this forgiveness out. Imagine light flowing out of you to bless and heal everyone you know, people in your life, friends, family, acquaintances. As you extend the light, you experience the light. So your own way is lighted. Your own way you must travel to God. The source is lighted. So just dropping in, letting it all go. Final exhale. So you're completely empty of breath and thought. Say peace to all seeking hearts today. The light has come to offer miracles, to bless the tired world. It will find rest today, for I will offer what I have received. And so just rest. There's nothing to do, there's nowhere to go. Just breathe, relax, be still, rest. Rest in the peace of God. The next 2 minutes of silence, just watch your breath. Imagine you breathing in the light, intensifying the light. You hold the breath briefly and then you extending it out. to bless people you know, people you don't know. Just do that for the next 2 minutes of silence. Any thoughts arise, disturb this deep peace, notice them, just gently let them go with your breath. Imagine just blowing them away, like cloud patterns, just drifting away, drifting by. There's no power to obscure the sun, source, sky, your awareness of your source. So just sink back in to that awareness for another minute of silence. And so gently coming back, count of 3, you're going to open your eyes, bring your awareness back into the body, into the world, with the breath, into the meditation of the breath. The breath carried us through it. We end with it too. So you're breathing in, stomach rises, chest rises. Notice the subtle flow of air into the nostrils. Energy rising up the spine, the subtle clench of your sphincter muscle. Life energy rising up like a warm red thread flowing all the way up into the crown of your head. Pause, top of the inhale, smile. And then you exhale. Like the sighing sound in the throat as though you're fogging sunglasses. Keep your mouth closed, air flows out of your nostrils. Chest and stomach suck back in and feel this life energy you raised up into your head, just subsiding back down on the front channel of your body. Coming to rest. The low stomach and the groin. So that's 1, 2, just while your tension's down there, noticing the weight of your body, pressing down into the chair and feet touching the ground, grounding yourself back into this reality. And just breathing in again, notice how the stomach rises. Maybe there's a subtle smell in your nose as you inhale, notice that. Notice any taste in your mouth, notice what you're hearing. Just tuning into even the smallest sounds in the surrounding environment. You can hear the whirring of computer fan. I can hear some crickets outside, sounds of the night, traffic in the distance. So just allowing all of these things to be. There's no attempt to judge anything perfectly. That's some hooting. So if anything like that, any apparently disturbing noise arises, you just notice it and you don't judge it. There's no mental interpretation, no labeling, no judgment, no resistance. You just allow it to be, and then this too shall pass. Thing with all sense perceptions as they pass. So it arises and it subsides. If you can just all let it blow through your mind without attaching to it, making it real, allowing yourself to get upset. That is the key to a miraculous life. And that's how you live in the domain of the miraculous. As today's lesson suggests for you, you give the miracles in your perception, your forgiving, loving perception, and then you receive the miracles of love and peace and joy. So 3, just open your eyes, look around, noticing whatever happens to be in the environment, letting your eyes just rest randomly on whatever objects happen to be there for a second or two, and move on to something else, and then something else, looking around, up, down, sideways, behind you if you want. And just make no attempt to name these things, to label them, to judge them, to select them. It's just very random. And what you will notice is that your underlying awareness and the peace that goes with it is the same in all of these sense perceptions. So you're starting to train your mind to pay more attention to this underlying awareness, this ground of being, true reality. This is the source of all miracles. The miracles here are just a reflection of that underlying presence, truth, reality, whatever you want to call it. And we all know is there on something. We're all seeking it. The mind, ego mind, is to keep you as far away from it as possible. The miracle is a choice to allow it back into your awareness. So I hope you've enjoyed this meditation. I hope it sets you up for a lovely rest of your evening and a good sleep and a miraculous week ahead. So that's what I wish for you. Much peace, love, miracles. These miracles are really how we translate this other dimension of total peace and love into this world. It's one of the most important concepts in the entire course. I will be talking about that now. If you're on YouTube, then feel free to join us. We'll have a little discussion session about miracles. And if you're on the Art of Letting Go Club WhatsApp group, I'm going to bid you good night. And thank you for listening. Namaste, which means the divine peace and miracles in me. I want to acknowledge the divine peace and miracles in you. All right. So I thought, well, let's do a little check-in first. Anything you want to share? Do it as an expression session. So let me just, I think I explained it briefly the other day, but I'll explain it again. So an expression session is, just going to stop the share for the moment. An expression session is where you just share whatever's arising for you. So could be something that's very present. Usually it's how you're feeling presently, currently, but it might be how you're feeling about something that's happened over the last day or two or week. And you just express the thoughts, so you express the feelings. And then everyone else who's in the group just says, they say no, nothing. There's no commentary necessarily. If you really want advice, if you really want help, you can ask for it. But it's more just kind of expressing it and letting it out, and then sometimes that helps, and you'll get some answers. So do you want to do that? Are you looking at your phone?
I don't know. I'm just listening. I just don't know. I haven't got my phone in my hand.
Yeah,
Looking
at them.
there was something in a book I wanted to talk to you about, but I can't find it. I was just trying to find the thing in there. I'd seen it this morning, but I can't find it.
Okay. So just to start off, like, so just to practice this, how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling a bit tired, a bit depressed, and yeah, thinking about tomorrow's work.
Okay. Is there anything particular you depressed about?
Nope. Just a slow progress, I think.
So it's to do with something in form, or is it just a general?
No, just a general thing in myself. There's just a thing in myself, but otherwise, no, I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay, but you can expand on it, because the idea of the expression.
Yes, I don't really want to do it on the
Well, we can stop YouTube if you like.
No, it's fine. Thank you. Fine. You do an expression session. You have one. What's going on with you?
Yeah. So right now I'm feeling pretty peaceful. Had a run today. It's always good. Just kind of gets you into a nice kind of peaceful state. Nothing much arising right now. There's always interpersonal issues, but right now it's just peace. It's that nice kind of, very difficult to describe. Just feeling like, I think the exercise always helps, because it releases endorphins, and so you get
Absolutely,
get that nice kind of like, just actually it's all fine. The mind's pretty calm, pretty quiet. You've just done a meditation. Crickets are chirping in the background, and all is well.
That's wonderful. I think you're right. You hit the button on the nose there, or hit the button on the whatever.
Nail on the head.
Nail on the head. I not enough exercise. I haven't exercised this week a lot. I think that's the cause. Yeah, I went for a walk, but wasn't long enough. Just let me get a drink of water. Won't be a sec. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jono. Yeah, I think you're right. The exercise is the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. It's the idea of an expression session is like, no one says this is the solution, but often it just comes to you.
Just comes, yeah.
Just
and I think that's the
are you
answer.
expressing, and then someone else expresses, and if you just listen, maybe it's. I mean, obviously, it's all in the mind. We know that. There's no doubt that you can do things on this level in the body, because the body affects how you feel. The body affects the mind. If you're feeling physically out of sorts, then and you haven't exercised for a while. I know, like, if I don't exercise do once a week now, which is probably, I'd like to do more, but that's kind of the limit. If I start going beyond that, it just feels like, okay, yes, I could just go, all right, that this uncomfortable physical feeling and the prickling skin and wanting to just sweat and move. These are all physical sensations which you can you could overcome. Some of these yogis don't even move for years. It is possible, but for most people, that's just a cue to say, okay, well, why don't I just, for me anyway, it's like go do it, and you get nice sweat
Yeah.
and that energy, and then the endorphins kick in and just feel like it's like a moving meditation. And afterwards is lovely. You're
Yeah.
just in a nice, serene, calm kind of state where it's like, actually nothing, there aren't really any issues. I'm just feeling peaceful, and it definitely calms the mind. It takes the mind down into an alpha state, which is the state of flow, where you're just feeling like that underlying peace and calm, and yet you can operate in the world, you can interact, you can do what you need to do, but there's just this nice flowing calm state, which is really nice. And that's why they invented things like yoga, because they realized that if you do some movement in the body, it can really help the mind to go into that calm state. The 8 limbs of yoga, it starts off with clean living, and so clean personal habits, and then how you treat others. So those are the sort of first 2 legs, and then it goes into asanas. So the pranayama, so the breath work, breathing, that's another key. That's why we incorporate it into all the meditations and breath breaks. And then the asanas, which is the movement of the body combined with the breathing. And they figured out that if they did that, like an hour or sometimes longer, and it's quite hot in India and places like that, you do that, and then the mind would just be able to settle, because you kind of released some of that excess energy, some of the endorphins kick in, and then you'd go into the meditation, and the remaining 4 are all about different stages of meditation, going into a state where you're not judging. I think that's number 5. Some non-judgmental perception. 6 is like a deeper meditation where you can sustain concentration, basically. So focusing on one thing like a mantra. 7 is very deep. You're going to like a delta state, where you can stay there for potentially an hour or 2. And number 8 is samadhi, where you go into a totally superconscious state, which can't really even be described. The Course would call it revelation. It's just like, I'm not even really in this world. You've gone away. You're not even aware of the physical body or the physical senses. All of that's dropped away, and you're just in the light. And some of these yogis and mystics can stay there for weeks. And because there's no time, they really are not conscious of bodily processes and so on. So sometimes days, weeks can go by, and everyone else is still in time, and they go, how can you just sit there for like weeks and not eat? But it's almost like the body's gone into a state of hibernation, and they just remain there. So like there's stages, and I think for most people, exercise can really, really help to just get the mind into that. And then if you do a good yoga session, then do a meditation. That's really lovely, because you just prepared yourself, and it's like, that's 10 or 15 minutes after the yoga is gold. I remember when I used to do hot yoga, when we could still do hot yoga pre-COVID, but we won't discuss that tonight. That I'd do it, and because it was so hot and so intense, sometimes an hour and a half, you'd really have just like sweated it all out, and it was physically intense and all the heat. And then you just lie there, and they, have the fans going, and it's like cooling off. And it's just so lovely. You just like lie in Savasana, dead man's pose, and it's like, And it was extraordinary, because most people maybe did that for a minute or 2, and then they left. Some left immediately, and you're like, that's the point. You do the yoga so
The
that
whole point, yeah. Mm.
well, there's a point to the yoga in itself, I suppose, but really yoga, it's not a physical practice. it's a practice for the mind. And so all of those, the asanas and etc., they're just part of this much bigger system that I think a lot of people in the West who do yoga aren't even aware of.
No,
Hang on,
and I think
these are two limbs, the breath work and the asanas are two limbs of a whole process that's designed to take you back to God, back to union with the divine. Sorry, I wanted to say something.
no, it's okay. I mean, you have the floor, so I shouldn't interrupt. But I think what I was going to say is that when you're lying in your your sort of corpse pose, I think your body's absorbing all the good energy that you've used as well. There's something about the absorption in that place. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Debbie, just one thing, just tilt your screen a bit because you cut off at the nose.
Okay.
There you go, that's better. Yeah, it's about integrating all of it and just going.
Yeah.
And then because you've done all that hectic physical activity, all these endorphins kick in, and you can have some amazing meditations. It's like,
Absolutely.
which you just couldn't have if you hadn't done the hour and a half of yoga before that. So it's all part of a yoga in some ways. I mean, the Chinese might argue with this, but it was the first system developed for personal growth and ultimately enlightenment, to take people through these stages of awakening back to ultimate samadhi, union with the divine, where you just get it. You're in that space. But they realized that it was a process. You weren't just going to go from stage one, being fairly unconscious and identified with the world and worldly thoughts and so on, and then just go to samadhi. It doesn't, very, very seldom. Occasionally that can happen. Some people have these miraculous sort of enlightenment experiences, but it's unusual. Eckhart Tolle is one of them, another lady called Byron Katie, but they went through a lot of pain before that. So their awakening was through a lot of unconsciousness, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and then it's almost like they were so intense that just something cracked open, shell of the ego broke open, and then revealed the self, the divine self. But it was years and years of accumulated kind of darkness and pain and suffering. Whereas something like yoga is more the path of mastery. I talk about two ways. There's a way of mastery, and there's the way of the cross. The way of the cross is like, okay, I'm just gonna beat my head against a brick wall, and it's going to get bloody and sore, but I'm going to keep doing it because I'm going to blame the wall. I'm going to go, no, it's it's the wall's fault. It's everyone else's fault. It's the external world's fault. And that can be very painful. And I think there's an element of that to anyone's awakening, really. I mean, we have to suffer to a point, but the way of mastery is saying, well, yes, use your experiences, but you don't have to just keep doing the same thing over and over again, getting the same bad result and get stuck in that pattern. There's these practices can really help you to start shifting your mindset and start making these little changes in yourself, so that you don't keep in the same rut. So you're thinking the same thoughts, doing the same behaviors over and over again. So the yoga, like, it's one of those things that could just like break the pattern. Tony Robbins talks about a pattern interrupt. You just break the pattern. So if you're feeling like, okay, I'm just a bit like out of sorts, a bit depressed, all that kind of stuff, I find if you do something different, you go, okay, break the pattern, go for a run, do a meditation, go for a walk, just change your routine, do something different. That can often just create a shift. And so you start doing yoga, for instance. Okay, I'll do yoga at least once a week. Suddenly that interrupts the pattern of the ego. And really, all that's all spiritual practice is. It's interrupting the default pattern of the ego, where you got these various practices. Yoga could be one, meditation, and so on. To just interrupt it and start going, okay, hang on, there's another way. When I interrupt the pattern of the ego, then I'm by default allowing another thought system to come in, which is the Holy Spirit's thought system. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, because the Buddhists also have their own little own practices as well. The same thing. I mean, you look at the Dalai Lama, and he doesn't look. He's still fit. And he's doing all of those practices. So it definitely makes all of the monks actually. You look at them; they're all fit and they've got smooth skins. They look and they are fit. Yeah.
If you read, I was reading a book my sister's got called The Secrets of, what was it called? The Secret Rites or something. But it was about these secret rites of Tibetan masters. And,
the 5 Tibetan exercises, those ones.
but more than that, it sort of went into like it was talking about some of the history of Westerners going into Tibet. Started to happen about 100, 150 years ago. Because it was a very isolated country, as you know, highest country in the world, difficult to get into. Some of these Westerners made it. And what they saw and what they then came back into Western documents, it was quite extraordinary. There's a whole series of books that I've read, which you could be skeptical and go, well, maybe the guy just made it all up.
Yeah.
But he's talking about these Tibetan masters who apparently are hundreds of years old. They'd be like, I'm 500. I'm 500. I'm middle aged, you know.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And a 100-year-old is like a teenager, you know. Just much longer lifespans, and they can do these extraordinary physical things, like they can melt snow with their bodies. So they don't have to wear really warm clothing because they just keep themselves warm through this breath process called tumo breathing. And they can sit with a frozen shirt. They did these experiments. They put like freezing, they'd dip clothes in water, and then they'd leave them in the snow. So they're like totally frozen and cold. And they'd put them on these monks, and they'd sit there in the freezing cold in the snow, and they'd dry. The steam would start rising from the clothes because they'd be drying it out. So they'd be generating so much body heat internally through these processes, like this kind of breath work, because it activates the Kundalini energy, which is a source of energy inside your body. So you don't need external heat and clothes and stuff because that energy is there. Obviously, in a cold climate, that's quite a useful skill. So, you know, if you're living in Africa, don't really need it most of the time because it's warm enough. And then they would also do these things called Langwampa, which was like moonwalking. These masters of Langwampa would like take a stride, and the stride would be like 10 meters. It'd be like a long jump. Every stride is like an Olympic long jump. So they competed in the Olympics. They would just be like, oh, that's like an 8, I don't know what the Olympic record is for long jump, 9-meter jump is like nothing. They're just like, oh, just and so they'd cover these vast distances in Tibet, and they'd be able to like cross mountain passes and things like that, which just defies Western logic because it defies gravity. But they trained themselves to levitate and be so light. It was like they could just float. So I think we're very limited in our in the Western ways. Like this is what's possible, and the whole scientific materialist paradigm says, this is the way it is, and this is what's possible, and yet, actually, none of those limits, the physical limits, actually really apply, because they can all be transcended. Even gravity can be transcended if you've trained your mind to a high enough extent. So I mean, obviously that's advanced, and they've spent years and years doing it. But if we just take little bits of these things, then it can be very helpful. Sorry, you're going to say?
No, I was saying that guy Spalding, he wrote Life and Teachings. Yeah.
It's a good series of. Sorry.
No, carry on.
It's a good series of books. Some really good stuff in there. I read, all of that before A Course in Miracles. So it was almost like preparation. Like, okay, there's all these pointers. It didn't really go that much into the philosophy of some. There was some of that, but it was almost preparation for like opening you up to the spirit, to go, okay, now you're ready for a non-dual teaching, or like actually the truth, because all those masters, that's where they're all going. It all takes you back to the divine in the end. And we all are somewhere on that journey. Okay, anything else you want to share? Got 20 minutes, 23 minutes before 9 o'clock. Do you want to just do a bit of reading?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
As I said, we discuss what is a miracle. So can you see the screen?
Coming. Got it.
Is it there?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is our preliminary section we meditated on, but I thought it might be quite useful to read it. There's some really good stuff in here. And it's actually it's probably one of the most misunderstood parts of the course. Can you hear me, Debbie?
I can, yes, I'm listening.
Okay. I'm just not seeing, normally shows me the little boxes, but never mind, as long as you can see and you can see the screen. So do you want to read the first paragraph?
A miracle is a correction. It does not create nor really change at all. It merely looks on devastation and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. It undoes error, but does not attempt to go beyond perception, nor exceed the function of forgiveness. Thus it stays within time's limit, yet it paves the way for the return of timelessness, and love's awakening for fear must slip away under the gentle reminder it brings.
Remedy, gentle remedy.
What did I say? Sorry, remedy.
Reminder, yeah, remedy.
Remedy. Sorry, remedy it brings. Sorry.
No problem. So anything that stood out for you there?
I think yet it paves the way for the return of timelessness and love's awakening. Fear must slip away under its gentle remedy it brings.
Yeah, I mean, it actually took me about 10 years to really understand what a miracle was. It's quite funny, actually, when you think about it. So it's A Course in Miracles. You study the thing for 10 years, and it takes you 10 years to actually go, oh, okay, so that's actually what he means. When I started, I thought miracles were, these phenomenal things that people like Jesus had done, walking on water, and turning water into wine, and raising the dead, and feeding the masses with fishes and bread. All that kind of phenomenal stuff, which I suppose is, if you know about the New Testament and the Jesus's life and so on, then it's kind of, I guess, you wouldn't you? Because there's no other frame of reference. And I sort of came to the course because I was like, oh, that'd be cool. I like to know how to do miracles. I like to do all that cool stuff. So yeah, okay.
Walk on water, yeah.
Yeah, kind of, bring it on. And of course, as you go deeper into it, you start realizing that's not really what it's about. I've had a couple of pretty amazing things happen to me. I didn't really do them; they just kind of happened. That defied the laws of time and space. But it wasn't me doing it, and it certainly wasn't about, oh, aren't I so cool because I can do this, which is really just the ego trying to hijack the process. Some of these yogis and mystics and so on, they get very into the siddhis, they call it, the powers that come with spiritual practices. So some of them can, lie on a bed of nails with, no harm coming to their body. Others can manifest various objects, rings, and or whatever they feel like. Sometimes there was what was this chap, Sai Baba. Sai Baba apparently was pretty good at doing that kind of stuff. Manifest rings and divine ash out of nothing, and everyone was like, oh, he's so enlightened. But actually, it's not really about that. It's not about phenomenal manifestation. That's not what a miracle is. In fact, you could argue that some of those things were quite the opposite. It's like a show. It's entertainment for the masses, and of course, it gets people to go, oh, he's so amazing, and isn't he brilliant, and he's my master, and I could never do that. But that's not really what the miracle is designed to achieve.
The thing is, he was extremely powerful, though. A lot of people used to have him appear in their dreams and give them all sorts of amazing information.
Yeah, and like, so maybe I was never a disciple of Sai Baba. I never met the man, and I never really went into it. Maybe he did that to just sort of help people on the path. Maybe thought it would be helpful in their awakening. If he did it for that purpose and it really served that purpose, then maybe you could argue. But I think a lot of the time, because I met some followers, it was very much of the guru worship. It was like, oh, he's the divine being incarnate, and I worship Sai Baba, and somehow I'm less than him, which isn't really.
Which I'm sure he didn't want, because it's often. I used to be at Sangi, and the teacher always said, "I'm the same as you. I'm the same as you, no different." That was the Gurunda Singh or whoever it was. But
yeah, as I said, I don't know, because I don't know enough about Sai Baba to comment. But I know that there are other gurus and mystics, and this is where the ego hijacks the whole spiritual part.
But you didn't let me finish. Could I finish my sentence, maybe?
Sorry, I can't actually see you, so I'm just going on audio.
What I said was the people. Even though the teacher, Gurinder Singh, said, please, I'm your teacher. I'm not anything above you. We are all the same. The student still insisted on doing exactly what you've said, made him the guru, he's God, etc., etc. And no matter how hard the teacher said, I'm not, I'm the same as you, we're all part of God, etc., etc. Students still want someone they can call God,
which is interesting. It shows you how attached we are to specialness. I think that there's that most people want some kind of specialness. They want a special identity for themselves, and often a special guru or teacher just reinforces that. Oh, well, I'm so special because I'm Sai Baba's disciple, and so now, like, we have to make Sai Baba very special because that's an extension of our own ego. That kind of thing happens quite a lot, which is not what a miracle is about at all. It's an authentic shift from fear to love, and it takes you back to God, back to that divine oneness. Okay, so shall I read number 2?
Can I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
It says here, it undoes error, but does not attempt to go beyond perception, nor exceed the function of forgiveness. So does it mean that you still have to forgive, or obviously you still have to forgive us, but it's not going to help you forgive? Or what does it mean?
Undoes error, but does not attempt to go beyond perception nor exceed the function of forgiveness. So what he's saying is it's a tool the miracle is applicable to this domain, this world of perception, time and space. And it's not revelation. He makes a distinction early on in the course between revelation and miracles. He says miracles are more useful for you now because you think you're in time and space. You think you're in the domain of perception. So we have to start correcting your perception. And so it's within that framework of, okay, yes, you're still going to be perceiving as apparently a person in this world, looking out, seeing the external world, having interactions with other people, and so on. And yet, and so the miracle is a tool within the domain of perception to let go of your false beliefs and ultimately your false identity. So it doesn't exceed the function of forgiveness, which is simply to go, okay, I'm noticing these things that are not of God, that are not love, and I'm willing and able to let them go by simply reminding myself of the fact that they're not real, and then letting go of the thoughts and the emotions that are also not real, that are being triggered by these unreal things. And so that's what he means. It doesn't exceed that function. You're still going to be aware of apparent error. As he says, it undoes error, but it does not attempt to go beyond perception. So you're just dealing with whatever's arising here. And in some ways, this is the answer, because it's like, and I've had struggles with this sometimes, where you go, well, why don't I just go back home then? Why even bother with the domain of perception? If none of it's real, none of it really matters. Just go back to the source, to oneness, and just let all this go. And surely the sooner one does that, the better. And that can take you into suicidal thoughts of like, well, hang on, why even bother living another day? Sometimes the Course even says, why would you stay another moment, another instant where you do not belong? So
the Course is not suggesting that you kill yourself. It's suggesting that you're not engaged with the ego anymore.
But it's tempting to misinterpret it and go, if you're trying to go to revelation straight away and skip the miracle process, skip this process of forgiveness and miracles, it's probably not going to get you there sustainably, because you haven't actually done the work of undoing all of those blocks. And those blocks show up in your time-space experience as false thoughts, false beliefs, thoughts and emotions that are less than loving, less than peaceful. So within the domain of perception, Jesus is saying that's where the correction needs to start. And that's why miracles and forgiveness are so helpful. Because he's saying you can't just go straight to revelation. It doesn't work that way. You have to correct your perception and just be content while you're here, apparently in a body, to stay in the domain. Okay, all right. It does not attempt to go beyond perception. All right. If I'm a miracle worker, I'm not actually attempting right now to go beyond perception. I'm just doing what I need to do right now. So chop wood, carry water idea. Okay, so something arises, it's triggered me, I'm feeling less than loving or peaceful. Okay, but I can let it go. I can apply this principle of forgiveness to let go of those thoughts and emotions. And that's my job. That's what I need to do. I don't need to be worried about, okay, well, how am I going to get out of time and space into revelation? I think that's one of the absolute keys here. I'm learning as I'm saying this, because that's what he's saying. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Which just means, right, just every day get up and apply these principles and allow miracles to come, and that's good enough. You keep doing that.
Yeah, because it's all right.
No, okay, carry on.
I think it's about not being attached to the ego, because it's the ego that says I don't want to be here anymore. It's the ego that says I don't want to, I've got to. Why should I actually stay here, and misinterpret it on purpose? I think if we're living in the awareness of the divine, nothing would bother us. Doesn't matter if we can't pay our tax or the rent or whatever. It would all be taken care of.
Well, almost by definition, that's the case, isn't it? Because if it's bothering you, then hang on, you haven't actually applied forgiveness.
Well, it's also the ego is bothered. The ego is never, awareness is never bothered.
So then there's still something arising in the ego's mind, and it's then, okay, now apply the principles of looking at it, becoming aware of it, choosing to let go of the negativity. And if you keep doing that for the rest of your life, then you trust that God takes the final step, as Jesus says somewhere else in the Course. That your job is to bring yourself to the gates of heaven, where you've done all this forgiveness, you've been a miracle worker, for years potentially, just quietly, not necessarily anything phenomenal, amazing. It's just these little miracles that are happening in your shifts in your own perception on a daily basis. And then when you're finally ready to lay the body aside, we call that physical death, then your mind is basically there. There's nothing to stop you from going into that timeless revelation state and just staying there.
Yeah, I think your mind will be pretty peaceful.
Yeah, if you keep doing this work and you keep working through your stuff, you've got to get to a point where it's actually my default state is peace. Nothing really disturbs that. If anything comes in, well, then I just do the forgiveness, because that's I got so accustomed to doing it. So forgiveness starts to become your default mode of operating. And that's really that's the miracle worker. It's like, it's just default. Okay, something comes up, I'm aware of it pretty much straight away, and I'm willing to let it go. It doesn't mean nothing ever comes up, but it means very quickly you do the correction and you're able to let it go and find that gentle remedy it talks about. So it's a very helpful concept, I think, the idea of a miracle, and then obviously forgiveness being the mechanisms of miracles, which is why it's called A Course in Miracles and not A Course in Revelation or A Course in Love, because it's the translation of the one reality into the other. So you start off in the ego's thought system, fear, guilt, and attack, and he knows that. And then through these perceptual shifts that he's training you to do on a daily basis, you start moving away from the ego and more into this timeless state and into love's awakening. And it's this gradual process for most people. Okay, shall I read number 2? You're still there, Debbie?
I'm still here.
Yeah. A miracle contains the gift of grace, for it is given and received as one. And thus it illustrates the law of truth the world does not obey, because it fails entirely to understand its ways. A miracle inverts perception, which was upside down before, and thus it ends the strange distortions that were manifest. Now is perception open to the truth. Now is forgiveness seen as justified. A miracle inverts perception, which was upside down before, and thus it ends the strange distortions that were manifest. So, I mean, that's all profound. You could choose any one of those, but
I know,
it stood out.
amazing.
So it inverts perception. So what he's saying is that this is totally the opposite. A miracle, to be miracle-minded, is totally the opposite of the way that you think currently, the way you think and perceive currently. You have to totally invert your perception, because it was upside down before. Now you've got to turn it right way up, which indicates just how radical this is. This isn't just a minor, oh, well, I'll sort of try and patch up the ego a little bit and make my life a little bit better within the domain of the ego and time and space. This is total inversion of your perception, going, actually, I really didn't have a clue before. I had no idea what I was doing. All my thoughts and feelings and so on in the ego were upside down and were actually taking me nowhere. They're just taking me deeper into the darkness. And the miracle just turns the whole thing upside down. So when you start doing that, you do find some resistance from the ego and some strain, because it's like, whoa, hang on, like, what are you doing here? This isn't how it works. This isn't how the world works. These aren't the laws I made up. But Jesus is saying, but you have to look at all those false laws and say, no, none of them are true. And now is forgiveness justified? Because you start to see, actually, of course, if everything's upside down here, then forgiveness is always justified. There's no instance that it's not justified, because it's all upside down thinking. And the world is a projection of an upside down thought system. And so nothing here really works for that reason. So if I can just see that, then I'm going to be much happier and more peaceful. Okay, any questions on number 2?
No, but it is upside down, hey? Everything is upside down.
Yeah, and then, you know, you have to see it.
Around. Yeah.
The course is a hard teaching in some ways, because it's like, it's just showing, it's saying, look, you have to see that. If you want to try and make the world real and somehow sane and somehow work in your mind, you're never ever going to be able to let it go. You're never going to transcend it, because you'll keep trying to justify what's upside down and makes no sense, and keep trying to make what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a relief. It's also hectic. Sometimes you go, well, what's the point? But it's also a great relief, because you go, oh, thank God. It's not like I'm failing, because almost everyone goes around with a sense of deep failure, that they're actually just failing. Their life isn't working. They're not cutting it. Other people are doing better. But actually, when you just go, actually, the game was never designed to make any of us happy, or anyone truly, successful, whatever that means.
Or to win.
It was designed to create difficulty and suffering and pain and misery and death. That's why the ego designed it. When you understand that, that is a massive relief. You go, oh, I don't have to try and make the impossible work anymore. Thank God for that. I can actually just let it go. Which makes the course pretty unique in spiritual teachings, because most spiritual teachings, other spiritual teachings, tend to try and make this world real in some way or another, and they tend to try and make it work. But it doesn't really work.
Forgiveness is the home of miracles. The eyes of Christ deliver them to all they look upon in mercy and in love. Perception stands corrected in his sight, and what was meant to curse has come to bless. Each lily of forgiveness offers all the world the silent miracle of love, and each is laid before the word of God, upon the universal altar to Creator and creation, in the light of perfect purity and endless joy. Forgiveness is the home of miracles, I think.
Yeah, so it's saying the two are synonymous. Forgiveness is the mechanism, the process, if you like, and what comes about through that process is a miracle. So is there really a difference between forgiveness and miracles? 6 of one and half a dozen of another? Not really. They it's two sides of the same coin, isn't it?
Yeah, one thing I don't understand, the perception stands corrected in his sight, and what was meant to curse has come to bless. Does it mean the perception looks like it's supposed to be cursing, but the perception actually changes it to a blessing? I think that's it. The perception changes it to a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just change your perception to be correct.
Yeah. And thank you.
Even if it was something that was, apparently not nice, someone did something. Instead of the curse of the ego, you just go, well, actually, it's a cry for love, and I can let it go.
Yeah.
And I can see the love, the cry for love, and the love beyond that. And then you've corrected your perception. In some ways, you kind of go, is that all I have to do? Yeah, and that's true. That's all we have to do. But it's easier said than done, as we know. It's like it's a mind shift. Every time you do forgiveness, it's like, there's a resistance, because the ego doesn't want to let go of its misperception of the situation. Okay, shall I read number 4? The miracle is taken first on faith, because to ask for it implies the mind has been made ready to conceive of what it cannot see and does not understand. Yet faith will bring its witnesses to show that what it rested on is really there. And thus the miracle will justify your faith in it and show it rested on a world more real than what you saw before. a world redeemed from what you thought was there. Miracle is taken first on faith, because to ask for it implies the mind has been made ready to conceive of what it cannot see and does not understand. So it's saying you have to have a bit of faith to start the process. So even though you don't really understand, if you've truly understood nothing's real, then you wouldn't need to forgive, would you? So it's like, okay, but I'm willing to try, I'm willing to do this process. And then I'm ready, you know, I'm open to another way of thinking. And then if you keep practicing it, slowly it starts to dawn on you. So I think a lot of people are like, well, actually, I don't really get this, so I'm just going to give it up. But he's saying, no, just persevere with it, because the miracle and the forgiveness is the way that you start to learn the truth. And you need these exercises in correcting your perception to do that. Okay.
Fake it till you make it. Yeah.
Yeah. Shall I tell you what? I'll read. This is a nice way to close this out, because it's a nice meditation. So close your eyes. Just breathing in, nice, deep, slow inhale. Breathing in the light, peace, the love to every cell, every muscle of your body. So miracles fall like drops of healing rain from heaven on a dry and dusty world, where starved and thirsty creatures come to die. Now they have water. Now the world is green. And everywhere the signs of life spring up, to show that what is born can never die. For what has life has immortality. And as you exhale, just sink in for 30 seconds into this state of total peace, state of grace the lesson talked about. We have a little glimpse of this immortal life, presence, the essence that you are, that is eternal. And this is what the miracle is there to show you ultimately.